Hello guys and girls, this is Wager Detective coming at you July 15th, 2026. We're going to get into this cap of the Valkyries versus Fever. This is the All-Star Break edition of Wager Detective, as we've been dabbling in the Wnba since the All-Star Break began on Monday, and got to be honest with you, I'm doing very, very good. If you followed the post, you followed what Wager Detective is doing, we're doing very, very good in the Wnba. We also just cashed the Argentina in the World Cup. They won inside regulation. I got a profit boost from FanDuel, 30% profit boost. It brought out Argentina to a plus 141, so I'm happy about that. Let's get into this cap. Before we do that, be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Set alerts on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. Leave comments on all those platforms. And remember, guys, Wager Detective loves and appreciates all his fans out there. Thank you for all the support. And I just want to continually just provide information for sports bettors out there that are looking for some kind of an edge when they go to the betting window. And I believe that Wager Detective is providing that for his fans and his patrons in that regard. Let's get into this cap. And as we look at the Valkyries, they are 4-1 all-time versus the Fever. They're plus 36 point differential. They are 17-7 on the year, and the Fever are coming back at 14-9. When we looked at FanDuel this morning at 326, when I started this cap, I've been kind of like back and forth doing other things, but this cap started at 326. So cap took me about an hour and a half to finish. And the Valkyries at that time at 3:26 p.m. they were plus 104, plus 1.5 on the spread, and the Fever were coming back at minus 128 on the money line, and the over/under was at 166.5, minus 106 to the over. So when this video is coming to the end, we'll go over to FanDuel to see if those lines are still the same. So Valkyries 17-7 on this year, 17-7 this year, and they're 4-1. Versus the Fever all time. They're plus 36 point differential. They're scoring 83 points a game to 75.8 for the Fever. Comes out to 158.8 points per game average. They are coached by Coach Nikasi, who is 40-28 in her 2 years with the Valkyries, and she was the Wnba Coach of the Year last year. So they're in good hands, a good team. 17-7 this year. They're 4-1 in their 5 meetings against the Fever, plus 36 point differential there, and they're scoring 83 points a game. And in those 5 games against the Fever, they've scored 83 points or better twice, and they've scored, and the Fever, again, scoring 75.8 in their 5 meetings with the Valkyries. They've scored 76 plus 3 times in those 5 games. So interesting dynamic there. They are 1-1. The Valkyries are 1-1 at the Fever all time, and average score is 81 to 75.5. If we look at the 2 meetings that between these 2 teams this year, it's a 1-1 split. The Valkyries won 90 to 88, and then they lost at the Fever 82 to 90. But they are 2-1 all time at the Fever. So if we look at what the Valkyries have done on the road this year, they are 7-4 in road games this year, plus 38 point differential, 5 over and 6 under, that 166.5 in the Valkyries road games this year. In the Valkyries 11 road games this year, they're scoring 80.4 points a game to 76.9 for their opponents. That's a plus 3.49 points per game average between their wins and their losses in those 11 road games this year. Average road game for the Valkyries this year is coming out to 157.3 points a game over those 11 road games. Now, if we look at the Valkyries and isolate it to their last 5 road games this year, they're 4-1, plus 22 point differential. They're scoring 77 points a game to 72.6 for their opponents in their last 5 road games. That 77 to 72.6 comes out to a plus 4.4 points per game average, and the average score is coming out to 149.6 for the Valkyries' last 5. So if we isolate between the last 5 and last 11, The total score, average score, has dropped from the last 11 being 157.3 to the last 5 being 149.6. And if we look at the Valkyries, 11 road games this year, they're scoring 80.4, but in their last 5, they're scoring 77 points a game. So both their scoring and their opponent's scoring is dropped by 8 points roughly between their 11 road games this year and their last 5. Now, if we look at the Valkyries in their last 9 games overall, they are 7-2 plus 39 point differential, 1 over and 8 under in the Valkyries last 9 games overall. Last 9 overall for the Valkyries, they're scoring 76.8 to 72.4 for their opponent. Comes out to a plus 4.35 points per game average between their wins and losses, and in their last 9 games overall, the total score of the games is coming out to 149.2. So if you look at that, if you look at the last 9 overall and then what the Valkyries have done in their last 5 road games, it's eerily the same. Last 5 road games for the Valkyries on the road, 149.6, and if we look at the Valkyries last 9 overall, average score 149.2. Now, if we look at what the Valkyries have done in their last 5 overall, they are 5-0, plus 50 point differential, scoring 77.6 a game to 67.6 for their opponents, comes out to 145.2. So if you look at all those metrics, you could see how that 166 could be tempting to take the over, and especially when we get into the fever part of the cap. You look at that 166.5 and you say to yourself, well, that is, it seems high compared to what the Valkyries' average scores of their games have been the last 5, what their average score of their last 9 overall have been, and what their last 5 road games have been, and even their 11 road games overall this year. All those numbers. Road games this year, 157.3. Last 5 road games, 149.6. Last 9 overall, 149.2. Last 5 overall, 145.2. So the 166 from that vantage point would look high, but I do believe that once we get into the fever part of the cap, we will see how that it could get over. Now, in the Valkyries' 10 games versus the East this year, the Eastern Conference, they are 7-3 plus 67 point differential. They're scoring 71.9 to 65.2 for their Eastern Conference counterparts. That average score of those 10 games versus the East this year is coming in at 137.1 points a game. So very, very interesting. So when we look at that Valkyries, that's the Valkyrie side of the cap right there. They're 1-1 versus the Fever this year, winning by 2, losing by 8 at the Fever. We look at the Valkyries' 11 road games this year. They're scoring 80.4 points a game. We look at their last 5 road games. They're scoring 77 points a game. And if we look at their last 9 overall, they're scoring 77 points a game. And if we look at their last 5 overall, they're scoring 77. So they're around anywhere from 77 to 80 in all those splits. And if we look at what they are, they're scoring 82 points per game on the year as a whole. That puts them at 12th in the Wnba. But if we look at what they're giving up a game, they're giving up 76.2, which puts them at number 1 in the Wnba in points against. We look at their offensive rating for the Valkyries. They are 8th in offensive rating, and their defensive rating is 1st. That puts them at a net rating of plus 7.7 net rating, which is 2nd best in the Wnba. Again, Valkyries 17-7 on this year, and let's get into the Fever's part of the cap. Fever, coached by Coach Stephanie White. Stephanie White is 130-85 in her time as the Indiana Fever head coach, and she was the 2023 Coach of the Year. So both these teams are very well coached. If we look at Fever, again, 14-9 on the year. They're 1st in the NBA in points per game with 94, and they're 11th in the WNBA in giving up points at 89 points a game. Their pace is 81.3, puts them at 2nd best in the WNBA. We look at their offensive rating, they're 1st in the WNBA. You look at their defensive rating, they're 9th in the WNBA. They have a plus 6 net rating that puts them 3rd in the WNBA. So we look at their net rating and the Valkyries' net rating, you're looking at the 2nd versus 3rd in the WNBA with 15 teams. So very, very much food for thought there. Now, in home games this year for the Fever, they are 8-4 9 over and 3 under in those 12 home games this year for the Fever, where they're scoring 99.3 points a game to 91.2 for their opponents. Comes out to a plus 8.13 points per game average between their wins and losses, and the average score is coming out to 190.5. So if we take the 190.5 in the Fever's home games this year, and we look at the road games for the 11 road games for the Valkyries, which was 157.3, and we take the home games for the Fever, 190.5, it does come out to 173.7, which is about 7 points higher than the total that's set today. So in home games this year, the Valkyries are scoring 99.3 points a game in 12 games, and the Valkyries are scoring 80.4 points per game in their 11 road games this year. Now, if we look at what the Fever have done in their last 5 at home, they are 3-2, scoring 104 points a game. So even though they're 3-2 in their last 5, they're scoring 104 points a game, and they're giving up 94.8. And we look at what they've done at home this year, they're scoring 99.3 and giving up 91.2. So in their last 5 home games, where they're 3-2, they're plus 9.2 points per game average between their wins and losses, and the average score coming out to 198.8. And if we look at the Valkyries, like we said, their last 5 road games are coming out to 149.6. So if you take the 149.6, add it plus the 198.8, you find the median there, it's coming out to 174.2. So when we look at the Fever in their last 9 overall, they are 5-4 plus 46 point differential. They're scoring 97.7 points a game to 92.6 for their opponents. That average score is coming out to 190.4. And if we look at the Valkyries last 9, we said their average score of those games is coming out to 149.2. So you take the 149.2, Wager Detective adds that with the Fever's last 9 overall, comes out to 190.4. You add those together, it's still coming out to 169.8, which is over that total that's set tonight at 166.5. Now, if we look at the last 5 for the Fever, they are 4-1. So they went from 5-4 in their last 9 overall to 4-1 in their last 5. 4-1 in their last 5, they're plus 63 point differential, and they're scoring 97.6 points a game. So between their last 9 and their last 5, they're right around that 97, 98 points a game. The difference is in their last 5, they're only giving up 85 points a game. So that plus minus between their wins and losses is coming out to plus 12.6 points per game for the Fever in their last 5 games. And the average score is coming out to 182.6. We take their last 5 overall for the Fever, their games coming out to 182.6, and you take the last 5 for the Valkyries coming out to 145.2. You combine those together, divided by 2, it is coming out to 163.9 points per game, which comes underneath that total. Now, when we look at the Fever versus the West, this year they are 10-7, scoring 93.8 points a game to 89 for their Western Conference counterparts. And you look at what we said about the Valkyries, 7-3 versus the East, and the average score of their games is coming out at 137.1. Again, the Fever versus the West, 182.8. You combine those 2 together, it does come out to 159.9, which is below that total. Now, coming into this game, the Valkyries are going to be on 4 days off. I looked at the Valkyries in their history before the All-Star break. They are 5-0 in that split where they're coming in on exactly 4 days rest. They're plus 47 point differential in those 5 games. Average score is 85.2 to 75.8 for their opponents. Average score of those games coming out at 161 exactly. So Valkyries coming into this game on 4 days off and then playing on the road. I looked at all that. The Valkyries in their history before the All-Star break, mind you, they are 5-0 coming into a game on the road where they have 4 days off coming into that game on the road, scoring 85.2 to 75.8 for their opponents. Now, when we look at the Valkyrie are going to be coming into this game with 2 days off and at home. So I looked at a 2-day off at home for the Fever, and in that split this year, they are 2-0. They've won 111 to 111-87 versus the Mercury, and they won 90-73 versus Portland. Not necessarily the team they'll be seeing tonight, but if we go back to last year and then combine it with this year, before the All-Star break when they have 2 days off and then they're playing at home, they are 3-1, plus 57-point differential, scoring 94.7 points a game to 80.5 for their opponents. Comes out to 175.2. And if we take that split and add it with the Valkyries coming in on 4 days rest and hitting the road, it's coming out to 168.1 points per game average. So for this game, guys, Wager Detective is pretty much lockstep with the fact that I think the Fever are going to win this game. And like we promised, let's go look and see what the spread is in this game. Let's take a look at this here. Let's take a look at this. Let me see here. All Sports, Wnba. If we look at this, the Fever are now minus 134. And the total is dropped to 165.5. I'm in lockstep with this. I do believe that the Fever are going to win this game. I wish I would have got it sooner because it was 128, and now it's minus 134. I like this. I like this spot for the Fever. As far as not having to lay that minus 134, plus 4.8, plus 12.6, plus 5.0. I would take that chance, guys. I really would. I also want to mention that Caitlin Clark is averaging 19 points per game this year in 2 games versus the Valkyries, and I just think they're going to score. I do believe that total is low. 165. It did drop a point, but you can see that the Fever are minus 134 now. Hopefully I could get a profit boost on that game to bring that down, and if I can, I'm going to go with the Fever either way here, guys. We're going with the Indiana Fever is going to be Wager Detective's call here, and I like the game. I mean, if I'm going to look at a total between over and under, they have played twice this year, and both those games did go over. So 90-88 and 82-90. Both games went clearly over that. I guess the sharp action to not be square would be to call the under here, because you are dealing with the Valkyries that are on 4 days rest, and they got the #1 defense in the league. So I'm sure their time off was probably dedicated to coming into this game fresh, stopping the scoring. So you know what? The more I think about that, I will take the under here. The Wager Detective calling under 165.5, and then also calling the Indiana Fever to find a way to win this game. Tight game. If I had to lay the 2.5 or take the 2.5, I'm probably going to lay the 2.5, because if they have a lead and it's late, you know, you're up by 1. As long as you're knocking down your free throws, I think they should cover this as well. So this is Wager Detective, July 15th, 2026. Be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Set alerts on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and leave comments on all those platforms. And guys, remember, Wager Detective loves all his fans. And again, July 15th, 2026, we're calling the Fever to beat the Valkyries and to also cover that 2.5 and the game to go under 165.5. I love all you guys out there, and I'll talk to you soon.